Good morning. I'm Donald Wortham, the college's Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, and it is my honor to host the Convocation for this most significant year, our centennial. First, a welcome to the sisters who are constant reminders of our precious Benedictine heritage and who are the living embodiment of its values. A welcome to the alumni and friends here today. We're so pleased that you are joining us on the opening of our 100th academic year. I believe we may have some members of the Saints Heritage Club, alums who have graduated 50 or more years ago. Splendid. A welcome to my colleagues, the faculty and staff whose daily efforts sustain our academic community. A welcome to our returning students who are here to enjoy today's pageantry and to celebrate this reopening, which for them signifies another step toward the next great pageant, their own commencement. And most especially, a welcome to our new students. Welcome, class of 2016. Appropriately, for this centennial year, we have as our theme the Benedictine value of the love of learning. And if we consider that the Latin meaning of convocation is a calling together, on this fine morning, I call all of you, especially our new students, to join together one community committed to and with a deep love of learning. So again, welcome. Let us begin our formal program with an invocation from Father William Graham, Professor and Director of the Bregelman Program in Catholic Studies. Father Graham.
This is one of the best views in our scenic city today. It's wonderful to see you. Welcome to the College of St. Scholastica. You are looking bright and new and eager and shining. And without you, we would look pretty silly up here, wouldn't we? So thank you for joining us at Wisdom's table. I would like to make the opening invocation also a little bit of research work. I'd like to invite you to tell me at some point by email after the convocation who wrote this prayer and what the title of the prayer is. It's about 800 years old. It was written by a guy who looks a lot like Mr. Lyons and who was called at the University of Paris Doctor Communis because of the outstanding clarity of his teaching. So the first guy and the first woman who tells me by email who wrote it and the name of the prayer is going to get this wonderful award. I wish you could just see it closely. It looks like a simple bottle opener, but it's way more than that. It's in its own protective plastic case made of semi-precious metals. And on this side is Pope Benedict XVI. On the other side, Vatican City. So while you might call it an opener, I call it a popener. And it was blessed by the sound of the Pope's own voice and carried home for you by me. Maybe you can come to Rome with me next May and buy your own if you don't win this one. But let us stand to pray. And let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God. Creator of all things, true source of light and wisdom, origin of all being, graciously let a ray of your light penetrate the darkness of my understanding. Take from me the double darkness in which I have been born, an obscurity of sin and ignorance. Give me a keen understanding, a retentive memory, and the ability to grasp things correctly and fundamentally. Grant me the talent of being exact in my explanations and the ability to express myself with thoroughness and charm. Point out the beginning, direct the progress, and help in the completion. I ask this through Christ our Lord.
Thank you, Father Graham, for that prayer. Our first speaker is Sister Mary Rochefort, the college's Associate Vice President for Mission Integration. I believe you will agree that Sister has a wonderful way of expressing our Benedictine roots and how we can live them today. Sister Mary.
"100 years, what a gift. And you are here and welcome during our centennial year. When Mother Scholastica and her small community first visited this hill with hopes of building their new community, their home, their monastery, Mother Scholastica had a dream that went beyond her community's needs. On one occasion, she told her sisters, quote, "My dream is that someday there will rise upon these grounds fine buildings like the great abbeys of Europe. They will be built of stone, and within their walls higher education shall flourish. The divine office will be said, and the beautiful ceremonies of the liturgy will be carried out." Mother Scholastica's dream has been realized in what we now know as St. Scholastica Monastery and the College of St. Scholastica. Since the opening of Tower Hall in 1909, this holy place has welcomed thousands of men and women with dreams of their own. What was it that Mother Scholastica found here that inspired her dreams? I like to think that it was on this hill where she saw a place that all she knew and loved about her life as a Benedictine sister could thrive. This was to become home, and later it would become yet another positive response to the community's call to serve the people of God through the ministry of education. If this hill could talk, if the Valley of Silence could burst into song, what a dramatic story they would tell. A story that began with a small community of bold and courageous Benedictine sisters, faithful to their commitment to a life of prayer, work, and living together. A community that reached out in service to the sick and to school-aged children. A community that established a college and watched it grow into a learning community. The story would be told of hundreds of sisters who lived and died here in the service of the people of Duluth and way beyond. This hill and valley would speak as well of thousands of women and men exploring these grounds, taking in its beauty, becoming lost in its peaceful solitude, being inspired by sunrises, and feeling the awesome presence of God. They would speak of men and women pondering life's questions, seeking to find their place in the world. They would sing of happy times, of laughter and sharing, while remembering as well with tenderness and gentleness times of sorrow, anxiety, and aloneness, all part of life's journey. I can almost feel the Valley of Silence hold in reverence, young women discerning their call to the Benedictine life, myself among them, and other women and men searching their life call as they sat quietly on the rocks near the Valley of Silence and prayed for guidance. Stories would be told of fine buildings of stone that rose one after another, bringing grandeur to this Benedictine house of stone that overlooks the Great Lake Superior. Stories would acclaim the hundreds of men and women who joined and continue to join the sisters in their efforts to expand Mother Scholastica's dream for 100 years. Finally, both the hill and the valley would tell of many farewells that were murmured as men and women went forth from here to make a difference in the world, taking with them memories that would often call them back to their home away from home. So it is with the women belonging to the Saints Heritage Club who inspire us all and who, after 50 years or more, still consider this place home. Thank you for being here. This hill is alive with music, of voices lifted in songs of joy and praise, of openness to life's possibilities, of stretching minds and softening hearts, of acquired knowledge of both great and small proportion, of sports and other programs that engage mind, body, and spirit, of lasting friendships, of finding meaning and purpose in life, of finding a home in this place, of going forth to make a difference, of future dreams, and so much more. There are no strangers in this place, only friends waiting to be discovered. And surrounding you are members of the college's administration, faculty, and staff who are here to help make your dreams a reality. And by the way, you should make these people some of your very best friends. And there is still a community of Benedictine sisters who welcome you, who will pray for you, and who are eager to get to know you. And now you are here, with your dreams joining ours, following in the footsteps of thousands. You come as we did, eager to live fully today while you carve tomorrow. The dream continues. We are CSS, the living house of stone. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Sister, for that message. For many of you, your first contact with the college may have been with our next speaker, or perhaps with one of his staff. To give us all a bit of information about our freshman class, here's Eric Berg, Vice President for Enrollment Management. Mr. Berg.
Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Domholt, Sisters of the Monastery, faculty, staff, and students of the College of St. Scholastica, and especially our esteemed alums in the front row here. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to the class of students, freshmen and transfer, who are with us today. This entering group of new students numbers 615. 494 of them are incoming freshmen, the fifth largest class in the college's history. They are a bright group with an academic profile well above the average for our state's colleges and universities. Our entering transfer class numbers 121, with an academic profile quite similar to their freshman counterparts from both high school and their college experience. They come from 15 states and 20 countries, from places 3 blocks away to places 3,000 miles away. They come from different backgrounds, different upbringings, and different views of the world. Some come from generations of college goers, while others are the first in their family to ever pursue a degree. 110 of our incoming students have alumni connections, including 35 parents, 29 siblings, 16 cousins, 30 aunts and uncles, and 7 grandparents. For those of you who just crawled out of a hole with absolutely no communication with the outside world, this is our centennial year. And for this next part, I used no more and no less than 100 cities and towns to honor our 100 years up on this hill. They come from cities and towns named after calm waters, like Atwater, Bayfield, Bonnie Lake, Clear Lake, Detroit Lakes, Floodwood, Forest Lake, Green Bay, Ham Lake, Hoyt Lakes, Lake Elmo, Lake Nebagaman, Lakeville, Lino Lakes, Maple Lake, Moose Lake, Pequot Lakes, Prior Lake, Rice Lake, Shorewood, Silver Bay, Stillwater, Thunder Bay, Two Harbors, Turtle Lake, and White Bear Lake. To those named after places where the water runs fast over rocks and ledges, like Big Falls, Big Fork, Chippewa Falls, Coon Rapids, Crystal Falls, Deer River, East Grand Forks, Eagle River, Elk River, Grand Rapids, International Falls, Iron River, Little Falls, North Branch, River Falls, Sauk Rapids, Sioux Falls, Taylor Falls, and Thief River Falls. To those named for their great views, like Columbia Heights, Fairbanks, Falcon Heights, Grand Marais, Mendota Heights, Mound, Mountain Iron, Rocky Mountain House, Rosemount, Roland's Castle, and Vadnais Heights. To those named for farms and rolling fields and other natural landscapes, like Apple Valley, Arborvitae, Birchwood, Canyon, Cedar, Cottage Grove, Cotton, Des Plaines, Eden Prairie, Farmington, Inver Grove, Jackson Hole, La Crescent, Maple, Maple Grove, Maplewood, Oak Park, Oakdale, Parker's Prairie, Plainview, Sandstone, and Woodbury. To those named after saints, like St. Cloud, St. Francis, St. Joseph, St. Michael, St. Paul, St. Peter, and St. Croix. To still other cities that arouse curiosity and are actually quite fun to pronounce, like Baraboo, Barcelona, and Bexleyheath, Cali, Callaway, and Casablanca, Greendale, Ho Chi Minh, which has a population of 9 million, and Now Then, Ten Strike, which has a population of 201, Thimphu and Tobelbad, and Villard, Yunsugu, and Zrenjanin. I probably messed that up. The Benedictine tradition teaches us to listen with the ear of our heart. If you listen closely enough, what you hear in those names of cities and towns is the beauty of diversity, history, and community. All of you now come to join our community, and our community looks forward to everything you bring with you. Dr. Domholt, as Vice President for Academic Affairs, I am pleased to place them into your trust. They stand in the same place as have new students of years past, who have since left us transformed and ready to change the world. They understand the journey they are about to undertake and know it will take a commitment to education and perseverance to reveal the road ahead. They have rich experiences to share. They are an eager and willing group, well prepared to be productive members of the St. Scholastica community. Dr. Domholt, they are now officially in your hands.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. On behalf of the faculty, I accept these students into our midst. Students, you are now full-fledged collaborators in the quest for responsible living and meaningful work. The warmest of welcomes. And now, please help me welcome our college president to the podium, President Larry Goodwin.
Well, good morning. Last time we met, I danced, but that's a one-time deal, okay? So I get back to boring now. We've gathered here this morning to celebrate the beginning of a new academic year, a special one, as you know, our centennial year, and to welcome you into the community. The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead once wrote that the justification for a university is that it preserves the connection between knowledge and the zest of life by uniting the young and the old in the imaginative consideration of learning. He continues, the tragedy of the world is that those who are imaginative have but slight experience, and those who are experienced have feeble imaginations. And he concludes that the task of a university is to weld together imagination and experience. I think that captures the spirit of this ceremony. Since 1912, the College of St. Scholastica has been welcoming new students, educating them, and sending them forth as thoughtful leaders. So we have a lot of experience. You, new students, are literally fresh persons. You bring enthusiasm and zest and energy to our college. Every August, just after it's been quiet for a while, you come and refresh us, charge our batteries, and make us new all over again. So we bring you experience and tradition, and you bring us imagination and promise. This is a great match. The community you are joining is broad and deep. We can start with these academic robes that we're wearing. These robes recall our connections to the great learning communities that go back to the universities of the Middle Ages. And you now become part of the long and noble tradition of intellectual inquiry, thoughtful debate, and the love of learning. In a learning community, you resolve your differences by arguing and presenting evidence, not by violence. When you join us, you join a community of conscience as well as a community of inquiry. Our college, as you know, is shaped by the wisdom and the values of the Catholic Benedictine tradition. Our 5 core values, I wonder if you can say them yet: community, hospitality, respect, stewardship, and the love of learning. These values guide our lives, and they guide the work that we do together here. And to join this community is to make a commitment to these values. And we use the phrase cor et anima, heart and soul, to remind one another of our shared commitment to these values and to help one another to realize them. Our values mean that we reject such things as academic dishonesty, substance abuse, racist actions or comments, and physical or verbal violence. On the positive side, our values mean that we take care of our campus, we take care of one another, and we use our education to make the world a better place. Now, at some colleges and universities, the speaker would now say something like, "Look to your left and look to your right. In 4 years, half of you will not be here." But I say to you in this Benedictine college, look to your left and look to your right. These are the people who will help carry you to the finish line. You are now St. Scholastica saints, and the expectation for saints is high. This great house of stone, imagined a century ago by Mother Scholastica Kirst, is a dramatic landmark in a dramatic place. I once asked a young woman from Ireland, "Why did you choose to come here?" And she said, "I was surfing the net and I found the castle." Now you get to go to school in the castle too. We sit at the edge of the deep woods, Superior National Forest, and we sit on the shore of the big water. There are few spots on earth, I think, where nature and culture come together as beautifully as they do here in Duluth, and you now become part of this place. Our entire college community includes more than 4,000 students here, but also at our campuses in St. Paul, St. Cloud, Rochester, and Brainerd, as well as online students. And your colleagues in this entire community come from 46 states and from 40 countries. So this is your immediate family, but you got a lot of cousins spread around the state and around the world. We're serving single mothers, single working mothers who are earning degrees in the evening or online. We're serving mid-career professionals who've returned to college to complete their bachelor's degree or to upgrade to a master's degree. And we're serving 2,100 students like you, the traditional undergraduates. Our faculty and staff will be your teachers, your guides, your mentors. Sister Mary said, get to be friends with some of them, and I think some of them will even be your heroes. All the experience and the expertise that these folks have is now at your disposal. They're yours, and all you have to do is ask them. Beyond them, there are 20,000 living graduates of the College of St. Scholastica spread out across the country. They are in all kinds of professions: healthcare, attorneys, teachers, business leaders, public servants. When you join us, they become part of your extended family too. They can help you with your professional ambitions and maybe help you with some personal questions you have too. It's all part of your family. And again, I want to recognize our Saints Heritage Club, who's here today, to make this point. You're now related to these folks by joining this community. And think about it, 50 or more years ago, symbolically speaking, they were sitting where you are. They were just like you. And 50 years from today, you will be sitting down here. In the community of St. Scholastica, one generation helps the next. So today you are joining a community that reaches across space and stretches back in time. All of us will work hard to help you expand your horizons and to realize your dreams. And in return, we ask that you give us and each other your best efforts, and that you cherish and respect our traditions and our values, which shouldn't be too hard because, after all, you've just joined us, so they're now your values and your traditions as well. So I say to you again, welcome to the College of St. Scholastica. In 4 years, you're going to graduate and go out and transform the world for good. So the next 4 years are for your transformation, and I say, let's get to it. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. And now our convocation address to be given by Dr. Thomas Getz, Associate Professor in the School of Education and recipient of the 2012 Max H. Levine Award for Teaching Excellence. Dr. Gates.
I'd like to say good morning as well. I've known for a while that I was going to give this speech, and one of my concerns, other than just having to stand up here in front of all of these people, was finding a topic that would be interesting and relevant to all of you. And I decided that I would talk about success. And I chose that topic because I think all of us share a desire to be successful. And so the title of my short talk is, How Do You Define Success? And I want to start by asking all of you to think back a couple of hours, a few hours ago when you were getting ready for today. And students first, how many of you thought to yourselves, I want to see if I can be the worst student in my class today? Or how about faculty? How many faculty thought, I want to see if I can give the worst lecture ever, or have the worst class ever? Or how about staff or administration? I want to see how many bad decisions I could make today. And my guess is that nobody thought any of those things, because that's not the way we think. We don't start out each day hoping to fail. In fact, it's just the opposite. We want to be successful. We want to be successful in our personal lives and in our professional lives as well. And so if we talk about success, if we were able to brainstorm a list of factors that contributed to success, my guess is that one of those factors, probably on the top of the list, would be quality. If you think of a company or an organization is probably successful, at least in part, because they produce quality products, things that people want to buy, or they offer a quality service, things that all of you want, a service that you want, and or a service that you need. And if you think of the college, Sister Mary talked about our 100th anniversary. And if you think about the college, we're probably more successful now than we've ever been in the past. And all you have to do is look out at the audience, at all of you. And you all chose to come to St. Scholastica. And you probably could have chosen another college, but you decided to come here. And I bet if we interviewed all of you and asked you, why did you come here? There would probably be lots and lots of reasons, but I bet the underlying theme would be quality. You came here because you wanted a quality education and you wanted to have a quality experience, and that's what the college will offer you. So if we think of quality, and people try to, if you hear people talking about quality, oftentimes they'll say, well, quality is a very difficult thing to define. And some people will say, well, I know quality when I see it, but I can't define it. Well, I think you can define it. I mean, it might be a little bit difficult, but it's not an intangible, and you can define it and you can talk about it. And I think if you expect quality, you really need to talk about it. You can't assume that everyone can automatically produce quality. Well, if we think back, and let's think back on your educational experiences. Let's look at your high school experience. How was quality defined for you in high school? Well, probably with grades, right? So most of us got grades. You did an assignment, you got a grade. You got an A, a B, or a C. And we can define C as average. But if you think about it, there's no quality to a C. There's very little quality to a B. I mean, how many of you would like to go out with somebody who had a C personality and go to a C restaurant and have a C meal? I mean, nobody wants to go out on a C date. I mean, probably very few of you want to go out on a B date. And so when we think of quality, we really demand quality in our lives, and nobody wants a C life. How many of you would like to go to a C doctor or a C dentist? Probably no one. So we really demand quality, and nobody wants to have a C life. Well, think back, high school again. If quality was important, who defined quality in high school? Well, it probably wasn't you, was it? It was the teacher. You write a paper, you submit it, and the teacher grades the paper. You get it back, and you get a C+. Well, you might not be happy with a C+. And so you think, well, that teacher doesn't know what he's doing, or she doesn't know what she's doing, or he doesn't like me, or she doesn't like me. The temptation is so great when other people define quality for us is we tend to blame that other person and not ourselves. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that no one in here has ever defined the quality of the work that you do. But if we're really honest with ourselves, probably in no consistent or formal way we probably haven't really defined quality, right? I mean, we probably allow the teachers to define quality for us. And probably with good reason, too. Well, can you imagine if you had to evaluate the quality of everything that you did when you were in high school? You would have had to work a lot harder than if the teacher evaluated the quality. Well, what's going to happen when you're done at St. Scholastica after 4 years and you leave here and get that first job? Who's going to define quality for you then? My guess is no one. I mean, you probably work for an organization or a company that has some sort of a formal performance review system, and maybe you'll be evaluated once a year, but on a daily, consistent basis, I don't think anybody's going to be defining the quality of the work that you do. I work in the School of Education, and the dean of the School of Education is a wonderful person, and she's a great dean. But she doesn't meet me at my office door every morning and say, well, Tom, I'm glad you're here early today because I know you're going to have a really productive day. Or she doesn't take me aside after a meeting and say, well, I really love those ideas that you shared. You contribute so much to the department. And really, it's not her job to do that. I mean, can you imagine if she had to go around to every faculty member in the School of Education on a daily basis and tell them that they were doing a good job? She would never get anything done. And so whose job is it? Well, it's my job. I have to be able to look at what I do, to evaluate the quality of what I do, and be happy with that. And if the only thing that makes me happy is for other people to tell me that I'm doing a good job, then I don't think that I'm going to be very happy here at the college. Now, it's nice to hear from other people that you're doing a good job, but on a regular, consistent, and daily basis, I think that it's my job to assess the quality of the work that I do. And it's also my job to look at my failures, because failure is a part of life. Everybody fails. And you have to face that. It's very painful to look at yourself and face your failures, but you have to do it, and you have to learn from it. I've been teaching now for a little more than 35 years, and before I came to the college, I taught elementary school for 15 years. And about almost half of those years, I was a first grade teacher. And I would have people come up to me and say, well, what's it like teaching first grade? And I'd usually say, well, think of yourself as this powerful magnet, and all of your students are little pieces of metal. That's what it's like being a first grade teacher. First graders, and I don't know if you remember your first grade years or not, but first graders have a love of learning like no one I've ever worked with before. They love everything. They love to learn how to read, they love math, they love social studies, but most of all, they love you. And they're not afraid to tell you. And so Mary is a typical first grader, 6 years old. And she comes up to me and she says, well, Mr. Gates, and that's something in itself, because if you've ever been in a first grade classroom, many first graders don't call you by your name, they call you teacher. And in order to get your attention, they pull on your pant leg, and they go, teacher, teacher. And at any time during the day, you could have more than one first grader pulling at your pant leg, saying teacher, teacher. So advice that I would give to any prospective first grade teachers would be to wear a tight belt. But we'll get back to Mary. And so Mary comes up and she says, well, Mr. Gates, I really like you. You're my favorite teacher. And I would say, well, Mary, what a wonderful thing to say. Thank you so much. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, let's see. Now, Mary has had 2 teachers in her career, and so I stood a 50-50 chance of being her favorite teacher. And so after a few years, I decided, well, I need to move to a different grade level. And so there was a 6th grade opening. And so I became a 6th grade teacher. Now, what do you think? Do you think teaching 6th grade is different than teaching 1st grade? I mean, I love 1st graders. I love working with them. I love 6th graders, and I love working with them. But here's how I describe 6th graders. It's the beginning of a time in their lives when even their parents have a difficult time liking them. And now, Mary now is 12 years old, and she's hanging with her friends. And one of the things I used to do is, first couple of weeks, I used to stand in the doorway, and I would greet students as they come in and shake their hands. I mean, that's a great thing to do. And so now here's Mary, and she's standing out there, and she's thinking to herself, probably, how did I get this freak for a teacher? I mean, I could have had Mrs. Johnson. At least she doesn't make kids shake her hand. And so Mary's coming up, and I'm standing in the doorway, so the students can't get in. They have to shake my hand. And so she's coming up, and it's her turn, and I'm standing there, and I put my hand out, and you can sort of see the disgust in her eyes as she walks up to me, and she gingerly puts her hand forward. It's kind of like I have some horrible disease, and she grabs my hand, and I shake her hand, and I say, well, hello, Mary, welcome. How are you today? And she mumbles something, and then she gets in the classroom, and it's over with. And I always thought that maybe what she mumbled was probably, well, thank you for asking, Mr. Gates. I'm just fine, and how are you? Another thing I used to do in 6th grade is I taught a poetry unit. I'm not a poet, but I love poetry, and the students like poetry, and it's a great way to teach writing. And so what we would do is, it was a 2-week poetry unit, and we would read poems, we would write poems, and we would read the poems that we wrote. We would read them to each other. We had a bulletin board. We would put up rough drafts of our poetry on the bulletin board, and at the end we celebrated. We had a poetry party, and every student in the class, all the years I taught 6th grade, published 2 original poems, well-written poems in our anthology. And so I think they liked it. I was satisfied with it. I thought I did a good job, and I was happy with it. Although I don't ever remember a 6th grade student coming up to me and saying, well, I really like this poetry unit. But I was happy with it anyway. And fast forward about 5 or 6 years, and I'm sitting in my office here at the college, and I get a letter from Anoka Hennepin School District. And I opened the letter, and there was some information about National Honor Society. And then there was a handwritten essay by one of my former 6th grade students. And she was being inducted into National Honor Society, and part of the induction process is you have to identify a teacher who's most influential in your life and write about it. And she wrote about me. And she wrote about this poetry unit. And she said how she loved writing the poems, how she continued to write poetry even after we were done with the unit, how she continued to write poems during the summer, and when she went to 7th grade, she was chosen to participate in a poetry workshop that was led by a Twin Cities poet. And she said it changed her life. And now she would be inducted into the National Honor Society. And it all started with this poetry, this lousy 2-week poetry unit that I did in my 6th grade class. And, I mean, it took my breath away. I couldn't believe it. I had no idea that this student was affected in such a way. And so the reason I tell these 2 stories is that I think for many of you, when you finish here and you get that first job, it's going to be more like that of a 6th grade teacher than it will be like that of a 1st grade teacher. Your coworkers, your supervisors are not going to be coming up to you every day and telling you what a great job you're doing. And I think in some way, in some small part, that your job satisfaction is going to rely on your ability to be able to assess the quality of the work that you do and be happy knowing that you've done a good job. And so if there's any piece of advice I could give you, it would be to start thinking about quality, not only in your personal lives, but also in your academic lives as well. And also to start facing your failures, because everybody fails. And you need to face those and learn from them. And I really believe that if you're able to face your failures, that it will make celebrating your successes all that sweeter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gates. Next, we have a musical selection to be performed by Olivia Beisler, class of 2015, and Emily Valine, class of 2013. Ladies? Wasn't that lovely? Olivia and Emily, thank you so much. For our next speaker, I am pleased to introduce our Student Senate President, Melissa Marvin. Ms. Marvin.
Welcome, class of 2016. Woo! Upon coming to college, my biggest fear was meeting my roommate. I had thought, oh, what if it's some crazy vegetarian tree hugger that likes to get involved on campus? Oh wait, that's me. Whoops. Throughout college, you're gonna have a lot of fears, and you're gonna have a lot of obstacles, but it's important to never let that fear control you. Don't let it keep you from excelling at something or taking that class that scares you to death, because you can do it and you can excel at it. Now, I'd like to take a moment for each and every one of you to look around at the people sitting around you. Look at the person sitting next to you, above and below you. Each and every one of us comes from different experiences, different families. We have different things that make up who we are as a person and what makes us our identity. But we have one single thing in common. We are saints. You are joining in a vast history and culture that has made up our community for 100 years. And as saints, we're here to embrace our love of learning and to be bold and Benedictine. Here today, I know that the class of 2016 will transform the culture and history of CSS. This is not the time to be confined to your dorm rooms. You need to break free and experience what college is actually about. There are so many opportunities for you at St. Scholastica, and I encourage you to meet new people, try new things, get involved, and most importantly, step out of your comfort zone. I can tell you that I've been on 2 service learning trips to Los Angeles. I've been doing service and volunteer work all around the United States of America with Students Today, Leaders Forever. I have been skydiving before, but maybe most importantly, I've taken a couple of classes that have scared me to death, and I've still excelled at them. Here at CSS, our mascot is Storm, the St. Bernard, and I invite you to follow in Storm's paw prints to create something that is all your own. You are in charge of creating your legacy and your destiny and who you will be known for at CSS. Even if Duluth is typically notorious for only having 3 seasons: winter, 3 weeks of sunlight, and construction. St. Scholastica has truly become my home. However, when most people ask me where I live, I don't typically respond with my cursed hall apartment number. I respond with Tower 81, the Student Senate office. The Student Senate office is a place that I invite each and every one of you to stop by, whether you want to have lunch, have a chat about life, academics, or maybe you want to bring up some student concerns. Part of my responsibility to the student body is to advocate on your behalf. And that's also the responsibility of 7 first-year students who will be campaigning and elected to serve on the Student Senate. Packets are available Monday, September 10th in the Student Senate office. And with that, I encourage each and every one of you to get involved, step up, get out of your comfort zone, and create your own legacy that makes you who you are at St. Scholastica, as well as being a saint. With that, I would like to welcome you guys home, the class of 2016.
Thank you, Melissa. And now it's time for us to all join together in some singing. Miss Valine will lead us in our alma mater, Vivat St. Scholastica. Find it in your programs. Come on, folks, let's all stand. Well done. Before our closing prayer, one quick note of thanks to Steve Lyons, our Vice President of Student Affairs, and to his staff, and especially to Holly Carpenter, who really does all the work for this. Thank you very much. And finally, just a couple of reminders. All first-year students are invited to gather on the front steps of Tower Hall immediately after the convocation for your class photograph. And number two, also our typical post-convocation midday meal has been moved to Monday. The Centennial Birthday Party lunch will be served from 11 till 1, and all are welcome. To close our program today, Elizabeth Miller, class of 2013, will offer a benediction. Mrs. Miller, or Ms. Miller.
As we're gathered here today to mark the beginning of a new season, a new century as a college, it is clear to see the ways in which the Lord has blessed this community and fostered its growth over the past 100 years. As we continue the journey into this new school year, I ask the Lord to continue with us along the path as our faithful companion, guiding and supporting us in all endeavors as students, staff, faculty, alumni, and sisters, as individuals and as a community. I pray He make His presence known to us so we can move forward with the assurance that we are headed in the right direction, towards continued growth nourished by His Spirit. Amen.